Szifra Birke, and she, what was it? Hang on, let me look at my notes really quick. When she was in high school, she was a basketball player, which is kind of it's unexpected considering her stature. And she was known as Hot Hands Birke. So, yeah, also, one more thing. At intermission, two of our storytellers today have books for sale. Szifra has her book about tandem bicycling and love advice. So I'm 49 years old, and well, not now, as you can tell. And I decided that I want to learn contra dancing, which I know almost nothing about, except that it's some kind of folk dance with a live telling. So I find a place 30 minutes from my home. It's in Concord, Massachusetts. I walk into this big hall. There are about 100 people milling around, chatting, smiling, laughing. There's a band that's playing jigs and reels. And frankly, it was almost aggressively cheerful. So I hear something, the caller says something, and the next thing I know, there's a man in front of me, and I start to clutch, and I see that there are two lines forming. This caller says something else unintelligible to me, and this man takes both my hands, and at that point, I completely freeze. I freeze, and my dead husband comes into the dance. He's on the dance floor. Now, I thought I knew a lot about grief. I grew up in grief. My parents were Holocaust survivors. Everyone in their family was killed. I grew up in an environment where grief was in the walls, in the halls, and frankly, in me, before I ever had words for it. After college in Boston, I went to Purdue to get a master's in counseling, and there I ended up with my master's and getting married and having two beautiful Hoosier boys, and a marriage that wasn't Romeo and Juliet, but solid, and things were good. When my older son was in an experimental kindergarten program that encouraged a lot of parent involvement, I started volunteering. And I started something called the Buckle Up Club, because in 1983 in Indiana, wearing seatbelts was kind of aspiration. I encouraged my very introverted husband to also come in. He was a technology kind of guy who kept bringing computer games home for our boys, and I thought it would be cool if my son's classmates also got the chance to be introduced to all these computer games. Well, before long, unfortunately, computer games were not the only games being played in that kindergarten class. And parent involvement, unlike anything that I had imagined or encouraged. My husband and the kindergarten teacher started an affair. That affair dissolved our marriage, or our marriage dissolved. And for a time, I also dissolved. Eventually, life steadied. My ex-husband by then had intermittently seen the boys, and then eventually just stopped seeing them, which was incredibly heartbreaking, perhaps the worst part of all. I never thought anything worse could happen to me. Fortunately, life has a way of moving forward, and mine did too. I fell in love again, this time with a man from Massachusetts that my parents met and fixed me up with, and that's frankly a story for a different moment. But at some point, the boys and I moved back to Massachusetts, well, I'm saying back for me, back to Massachusetts, so that they could be with their family, grandparents, aunts, whole tribe of people, and a man who adored them and me. In fact, when people asked him, "Are these your stepsons?" he would always say, with great pride, "Yes, but for me, the step is silent." My boys were thriving, I was thriving, and for a long time, my husband was thriving too. At some point, the computer company, the international computer company he was working for, started faltering, and he decided to leave a 20-year corporate career to start a model train business. It was a business he loved. Finances, though, got tough. They were tougher than I knew, tougher than he ever said. He was a proud man who paid his bills on time or early. 10 years into our relationship, he committed suicide. Devastating and shocking beyond words. So when I say I am no stranger to grief, I have the creds for a lot of grief. So I now want to take us back to that contra dance with, the dead husband appearance. And in that situation, I decided that I, although knew a lot about grief, I did not understand the grief that was involved when you move your life forward after someone you love has died. It's a very different kind of grief. No name, no flowers, nobody, sends you condolence cards for moving your life forward. So, unusual. I still wanted to contra dance. I had forgotten the first time that you go to a dance and someone might touch you. So I thought, okay, if I still want to dance, I better take a smaller step this time. And that step seemed to me to be coffee. Across the table, no touching, just good distance, but some man sitting across from me to get me desensitized and used to this possibility because I wanted to dance. So I was telling a friend who said, "Oh, I think that's a great idea. I think you should meet my leadership coach, Jay. He's like all touchy-feely like you are, kind of a shrinky type." So I thought, okay, that's fine. Coffee, distance, the table. So quick phone call, we set up coffee, we have our coffee, no dead people show up. I think, okay, things are working. This is a good idea to take a smaller step. So in a follow-up phone call, Jay and I were talking, and the follow-up, second phone call, and for some reason that I still don't understand, I decided I wanted to tell him more than I was widowed. So I told him, yes, my husband committed suicide. There was kind of some quiet. He shot himself. Silence. Dead silence. Well, I'm wondering, like what's happening here right now? And fast forward, Jay said to me when he came back on the phone, which he was of course on the whole time, but quiet, said, Szifra, the person that you're going to be with going forward is going to need to have room for a third presence in your relationship. I don't know why that was not old news to me, but it struck me as 100% true and 100% shocking. And I thought, I don't know how any person is going to be able to do that. Little did I know that I was going to be the one who was going to have the hardest time with that. Because it turns out every look, every nice gesture, every touch, every kiss had the potential to bring this feeling of incredible disloyalty rising up and coursing through me. I felt consistently like I was cheating on my dead husband. So, the thing I guess I want to say, I have a two-minute message. So the thing is that we have no rituals around moving forward after someone we love has died. And I want to say that I am eternally grateful to the fact that Jay, in our 27 years, marriage number 3, believe me, I did not think that was going to be me at 23 when I thought I was marrying for life. But in marriage number 3, in my 27 years, from the beginning to now, Jay has held my past with great gentleness and my hand very firmly. And I cannot tell you for anyone who's in your orbit how important that is. So here's what I've learned. I've learned that you can love forward and love backward at the same time, and both really matter. I've learned that weaving your lives together can make a really big difference, and for us, some days that weaving is a beautiful tapestry, and some days it's a really messy kids kind of camp potholder. I'm grateful, I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for my wonderful sons, for the men I loved and lost, for the men who stayed, and for all the threads in this complicated tapestry that is my life. Thank you. Wow.